A poet said only those who live in the present are blessed by the world. One such can derive nourishment from the occasional fluctuations of fate, as what grass does to dew. When spring comes, people need to stay in winter. Only after people have regained purity can they discover the purity of their neighbors. Over half a century ago, on the outskirts of St. Moritz, Switzerland. How was it, Carl? I hope my skill isn't too rusty. Actually, you play even more beautifully than before. Is it? You've become quite a sweet talker. My, I've waited forever for you to see the light. Yet, the same day your cousin will start a new life across the Atlantic. Tell me the truth. Are you unhappy? As a matter of fact, I am. The man named Carl grinned. It must be difficult for you to move to a new country. I knew you'd say that. The war is finally over. I'm going to Princeton to conduct new research, and you're going to Berlin to work as a psychiatrist. Our lives will get busier from now on. This world once lost its way. The man named Carl looked into the distance. We're fortunate to be able to contribute to its redeparture. You always get serious at times like this. Where rustling leaves answer the raging storm with their voices. And who are you, silent one? I'm but a small flower. I think this poem suits you a lot. Brania saw her in a picture. She's one of the founders of anti-entropy, Emma Planck, the supervisor of Dr. Einstein and Dr. Tesla. Yes, and she appears to have a complex relationship with the first Herrscher of Reason. Well, Joyce, but even Carl Gustav's memory is scattered here. Herrscher of Reason's core is in a dangerous state. What do you mean? Carl Gustav is one of the 300,000 that constitute the core, and possibly the first. In other words, he isn't only the origin of Joyce, but also the origin of Herrscher of Reason. So the conclusion we can draw is, under the influence of Project Sigma, Herrscher of Reason's core has disintegrated on a physical level. Disintegrated? Oh, this isn't scary as it sounds. The core consists of 300,000 minds, so theoretically each of them may quit. Herrscher of Reason is a unified concept, so two Wells and Brania all possess control over 300,000 minds. The real question is how to rid the distributed core of Project Sigma's influence to create room for Brania to regain strength. But May and I didn't have that kind of problem. Wait, is it because our cores aren't distributed? Maybe it's more than that. Unlike you two, Brania is not a Herrscher that's ascended. Herrscher of Reason's core has never ascended? Yes, this is because Joyce has been a Herrscher fighting for humanity since the beginning. With the aid of 300,000 thinking, he resisted Honkai's corruption of his character and transformed the power of destruction into a shield for the people. That makes Herrscher of Reason unique among Herrschers. For many years, anti-entropy has been trying to increase the core's output power, but has met with little success.
但从结果来说，我们收效甚微。
Not until now, the power that Joyce demonstrated in the final battle is still beyond our reach, as you saw.
而如你所见，
Mei, who has ascended in Nagazora, if we calculate only by the observed output power, her limit not only far surpasses yours and mine, but also certainly Joyce's. Einstein drew the adopted conclusion from the combined evidence. While Joyce's birth is unrelated to ascension, and Herschel of Reason's core is essentially the same as the gem of desire. Even if you fully synchronize with this core, yeah, it was a miracle that brought me closer to Joyce's power, and that's it. So we've never released this core's full power, not even once. Given Mei's example, this may be the case, but as I say, the uniqueness of this core makes it impossible for us to replicate Mei's case. But Brownia's okay with it. If the uniqueness of this core has helped Joyce and us, then this is how it's meant to be. As Mr. Yang said, Herschel of Reason's core isn't as stable as Mei's and Kiana's. But on the bright side, finding Herschel of Reason's power may be the same thing as finding Hare's weakness. Huh? Just maybe. Call it a hunch. Maybe Herschel of Reason exists in a way similar to Project Stigma itself. If we take World Serpent's claim into account, Project Stigma will unify people's will through dreaming and ultimately dominant finality. This sounds as believable as a mythos. But if we compare it to the state that Herschel of Reason was in at birth, you mean the thoughts of 300,000? Yes, the them in this core are distributed components. You could say that either they're all Herschels of Reason, or none of them is Herschel of Reason. From this perspective, we can argue that it's because the structural similarity that Project Stigma has a much greater impact on Herschel of Reason's core. It may even be Herschel of Reason's core, not Project Stigma, that's trapped us here. If this is true, then what Hare did was most likely exploiting the situation. She stimulated the core so it discretized and become more stigma-like. Do you remember what Durandal said? In a space directly controlled by Project Stigma, things closer to being a stigma will spontaneously expanded. Despite the fact that the fixed points in imaginary space, namely Herschel cores, can reverse this expansion, if they form a web, we could end up trapped like a spider's prey. But how can we confirm it? We don't really have an entry point. Have I mentioned a flame chaser named Kalpas before? He wanted to find the answer to a similar question, so he kept damaging the structure of Elysian realm. But that's in a virtual world. We're in a real world, so Herschel of the Void's power applies. If this maze is just a web that doesn't go on forever, we can find its weakness. But what kind of weakness could it be? Wait, could it be the memories we're exposed to? It's possible. If we want to destroy a web, we must target its threads. This may be very difficult, but Kiana, you can try breaking things with Herschel of Void's power. Got it. But Brownia, you know doing so damage the memories of former Herschels of Reasons, right? Is it really okay? It's okay, as a matter of fact. Brownia has faith in the tenacity of Herschel of Reason, and the tenacity will create the opportunity to break the status quo. So Kiana, when you get a chance, don't hold back. Leave it to me, Brownia.
舰长要带希儿去哪儿？舰长要带希儿去哪儿？舰长要带希儿去哪儿？希儿，有我来帮你一把吗？希儿，舰长要带希儿去哪儿？拜托了，另一个我真拿你没办法。伺机而动。去吧，希儿，去守护我们的约定。来玩捉迷藏吧。已经没事了。不错。不错。决战的时刻到了。吸吧，去吧，希儿，去守护我们的约定。来玩捉迷藏吧。已经没事了。审判的时刻到了。心炎，拔剑。好的，拜托了，另一个我真拿你没办法。已经没事了。小心烫伤。以此烈火，斩无不断。
So that's Wild Joyce.
就是瓦尔特乔伊斯。
Yeah, Brania dreamed of him many times, but he hasn't said anything to Brania. He just went on and watched Brania in
只
silence.
是在那里默默地走着自己的路，静静地看着布罗尼亚，仅此而已。
Of course, more memories here.
这里还有更多的记忆。
Then, to target it, are we going to try with what we mentioned before? Yes, but Kiana.
不过 ，Kiana，
Do you have something that's been bothering you?
一直有什么在意的事？
Yeah, when we saw Joyce's figure just now, it seemed like you had something to say.
你似乎有什么话要说。
I'm not sure how to express it. From what I feel, that figure consists of extremely complex emotions.
情绪十分复杂。
He resembles Mr. Yang in some ways, the herder of the void in some others. He even resembles Sidon in certain ways. Anyway, I feel like that's not simply the strength of the herder of reason. Is it Hare's influence? That's the most probable reason. Hare's identity might be more complex than she claims. Is she really Shariak's Sigma Crystal? What did she mean when she described herself that way? I see.
原来如此。
Looks like this is a game for the brave.
这或许是一场勇敢者的游戏呢。
Game for the brave?
敢者的游戏。
Prepare to try out our plan, Kiana. I'm going to unleash the
了解
memory.
放这份记忆了。
The youth woke up from a special life-sustaining airship. The surrounding displays were distorted by convex glass, and he saw what seemed like a world within a fish tank. He silently pressed a particular button inside the airship and prompted the system announcement to play. Your heart rate is 67 per minute, and 4.28 liters of air is consumed each time you inhale strongly. Your body's basic indicators are very healthy. You may leave this airship at any time. The youth pressed the same button again. Confirmation complete. The airship will depart shortly. Please be cautious. Good morning, Joachim. Should I arrange breakfast for you? Yes, thank you, Ada.
辛苦你了，艾达。
Let's eat at the canteen. I'm heading over now.
我这就来。
Even though he said that, the youth was still dressed in a bathrobe, lazing on an aged single-seated sofa as he dried himself. Across the sofa was a line of bookshelves, practically empty as there were a few physics theory books piled on them. The youth finally stood up and pushed those books away. He picked up a book that was hidden at the bottom, Happy Prince. The intricate illustration on the cover had already yellowed over time, but a streak of a girl's beautiful handwriting was left on the first page. May you thrive in health and academics. Rihanna Brigantia, November 1955. She was the strongest Valkyrie in Jigsaw back then, as she had broken his toy robot by accident. She gave him a small compensation gift when he was 8 years old. How is it, Kiana? Are you alright? How should I put it? I never thought that using my authority in someone else's memory would be so demanding. If only the Hirsch of Sentience was still with us. I painstakingly managed to free my consciousness from passive observation, but once I tried to use my authority, the memory disappeared immediately. But just before it disappeared, there was definitely something there. Could it be Hare watching us? Brania isn't sure, but if that's the case, when the opportunity arises again, Brania hopes that May will also prepare herself. Do you mean I should use Hirsch of Thunder's authority to attack the other party through the weakness that Kiana made, just before the memory disappears? Of course, regardless, we should forcefully elicit a reaction from that entity. That way, we can find more weakness. Then we must look for more memories. Yes, let's do this practically, one step at a time. I don't see Joyce this time. But we need to be prepared regardless. Since we discover the entity behind hidden memories, it might notice this and take countermeasures. In short, stay vigilant and prepare for battle, right? That's right. Just want to let you know, Vlad died. He didn't finish his job? Nope, that idiot blew his martyr up and got our client killed. Good for him to die then and there, unlike our client, who was too hurt to speak and could only write on the ground with someone's blood. Turns out our client wasn't writing fancy last words, but the word hurt over and over until biting the dust half an hour later. Damn. Brania, if I ever get so unlucky, find someone to bust a cap in my head so your Uncle Maxim doesn't die like a joke. Brania aims better than others. That's not the same, but I appreciate the thought. Come, Branya, this is the real deal. We didn't get paid, but we got our hands on this baby. Which is better? This is... computer. Bet you've never seen one. In the end, before Branya could learn anything, it was burned to ashes with Dad's Matryoshka doll in that fire. That's life in Siberia. Things take a turn for the better just to be plunged into despair again. Even so, we can't bring ourselves to hate her. After all, she was still our motherland. Strange, why has Branya regained thought so naturally in a memory? Who's there? The story is an interesting one. Branya Zaitchik. After all, humanity's greatest strength is in its narratives. This voice, Prometheus? You can refer to me by that name, although it might be unbelievable. If you wish to know Hare's weakness, it would benefit you to listen to me till the end about the previous topic. Then let Branya ask another question. Your bubble universe, it has irrevocably disappeared. Dr. May as well. I have been protected by destiny, and I'm temporarily alive in the form of data. Then, this topic ends here. Sadness and the past cannot help anyone move forward their future, especially according to something I recently understood. If any of you still wish to resist and overthrow Project Stigma, then the Herrscher of Reason's power is one of the cornerstones for it. The Herrscher of Reason is a cornerstone. That's right, but it's a long story. Anyway, there's no point talking about this in a memory you could never describe positively. Allow me to put some strings in the space that you are all in. Where did you move Kiana and May with these strings you pull? I've created different escape routes for each of you, based on your respective Herrscher core. Trust me, this is a more efficient method. Don't misunderstand. I'm not saying that anyone is holding the others back. However, Hare has already set her eyes on the Herrscher of Reason's authority, so we need to form more specific countermeasures. Hare? Why do you understand her situation so well? This is indeed incredible. In conclusion, she actively used some functions of the Sigma to transfer my calculation system out of the bubble universe to sustain it. This isn't just a simple copying of data. I can believe that the present me and the me at Dr. May's side are the same person. This is no original or copies. So, we can say that Hare is your savior. As I have no intentions to repay her, that description isn't accurate. From her perspective, I'm simply one of the new humans, just like all of you, who have the freedom to act as we wish. Branya doesn't think so. What freedom will a scientist bestow on a lab mouse? Alright, I understand how you feel. Indeed, efficiency cannot solve all problems. I admit I'm a bit hasty, so let them come to you, Herrscher of Reason. The world seemed lopsided for a moment. When Bronya came back to her sons, her companions had returned to where they were before. May, Bronya. Luckily, everyone's okay.
还好，大家看起来都没事。
So, what are you doing here,
你怎么在这里，
Prometheus?
普罗米修斯？
The answer will be easy to see as soon as you know what place this is. After saying that, she turned to Kiana and May and explained what had just happened. Easy to see?
显而易见嘛。
Bronya has some
既然你在
guesses
刚才那
after
段话
what
的
you
开头
just
这样
said.
说过，那么 Bronya 反而有了一些猜想。
This is the moon, but it's also the interior of the Herrscher core. Is Bronya
猜
right?
对了吗？
You have quite the intuition. Like the bubble universe that Doctor and I were in, this is a place where time is temporarily recovered, but its cause is the unstable Herrscher core.
但其诱因不是世界蛇，而是理智律者那不稳定的核心。
But from Bronya and Mr. Young's experience, the Herrscher of Reason's core is still more stable than other Herrscher cores. And if one reason for that is metamorphosis, then the Herrscher core of the Herrscher of sentience becomes an exception. No, the real reason is likely the thoughts of 300,000 people. 300,000 people? Isn't that the Herrscher of Reason's foundation? True, but as Harris sees it, this is at the root of the core's instability under Project Sigma's influence. I thought so.
是这样啊。
As I said, humanity's greatest strength is in its narratives.
就是叙事。
Whether it's the Herrscher of Reason or Project Sigma, they are all stories in essence.
也都是故事。
A strong story can reshape the world. A weak story can be reduced to a scrap of paper.
当故事被解构的时候，它也往往会沦为废纸一张。
Even if that's true, how can you call the Herrscher of Reason and Project Sigma stories?
这太奇怪了。
I see how you'd be confused, because I thought that it was too troublesome, so I laid the conclusion out
所以我
first.
把结论摆在了你们面前。
It's fine, I'll help you through it step by step.
接下来，我会从不同的层面帮你们好好梳理一下这个问题。
The Herrscher of Reason's power is to construct, to create from thin air what would otherwise require complex processes to make.
原本需要极其复杂的流程才能生产的文明造物。
The Herrscher of Reason is limited only by what civilization deems possible, which is to say, the limitation of narrative.
极限，或者说叙事的极限。
The limitation of narrative?
极限。
I don't mean repetitive rhetoric that continues ad nauseam. I mean believable narratives of substance.
真实意相信的故事。
Morality, money, language, customs, aesthetics, all narratives, all stories, starting from the earliest people, living narratives.
从刀耕火种的原始人开始，年复一年，人们不断将自己的叙事付诸实践。
And this resulted in what we call civilization. As Dr. May has said, civilization comes from fiction but transcends reality.
但它超越真实。